The display is definitely one of the highlights of this phone. The Agni 2 sports a 6.78-inch 10-bit AMOLED panel with a Full HD Plus resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. Now this is a curved panel that leads to an increased screen-to-body ratio and makes the phone appear stunning for the price. Given a brightness peak of 950 nits, it's excellent. Well, almost, since there are a few caveats. For starters, this panel, even when you set it on normal, the saturation is way too high. It's like Lava's normal is what other brands would call vivid. Next, while HDR works with some apps like YouTube, it doesn't with Netflix, at least not yet. And then there is the auto brightness. Now this one actually leaves me very hopeful. Guys, when my last video on the Agni 2 went live, I reported that the auto brightness was unusable. The screen would, it would either get too bright or get too dim, and even when you leave it on manual, it would still randomly fluctuate. But then there was an update that actually improved the situation. It's not like it's perfect now, but it's way better than what it was. Now, let me put it this way. If it was unusable before, if it was terrible before, it's almost right now, almost at the average. So despite some minor issues, the display, which beat it up is covered by short sensation alpha glass, is one I see as a big selling point here. Now before we look at everything else, my name's Ash, you're watching C4eTech, and welcome to my full review of the Lava Agni 2. Now, one of the aspects of this phone that drags the media experience down despite this panel is the speaker. Yep, you heard me right. I said speaker and not speakers, because this phone does not have support for stereo audio. It's just a single downwards firing speaker. Yes, it is reasonably loud, but these days, even at this price point, we've been seeing most phones launch with stereo speakers. So I consider this a small negative. Now on the flip side, the build and design, now these are things that Lava has absolutely nailed. The phone, given the curved back and the front, it's pretty narrow and fits well in hand. At 210 grams, it's not particularly light, but the way it seems quite evenly spread, and the Agni 2 felt comfortable to hold and use for long periods of time. The back here, it's glass, and Lava only sells one colorway, this green. Now the way it reflects light, it looks nice. That said, all cons of a glass back are applicable here. The phone's pretty slippery. For what it's worth, Lava does include a soft case in the box. Now also in the box is this dongle, since there is no headphone jack on this phone. Audio output though was fine, cellular reception and call quality too, they were great. Though I did have some issues with 5G data dropping at times, but I guess it's an isolated issue with my unit since I haven't seen anyone else report the same. Now also in the box is this charger. It's 66 watts and Lava claims using this you can get the 4700 mAh battery on the Agni 2 from 0 to 50 in just 16 minutes and a full charge in 43. In my experience, the numbers, they were a little bit off. My phone took 19 minutes, not 16, to go from 0 to 50, and for a full charge it took me 55 minutes instead of the advertised 43. A little inconsistent, yes, but still 50% in 19 minutes in this segment, I'd still consider that great. Now, with the battery life itself, it's just above average. With a regular day of moderate use where I'd say listen to music for an hour, be on call for 2, watch a bit of YouTube, some Reddit, I never found myself needing to plug the phone in before the end of the day. But on days of more intense use, I found myself needing a quick top up by say 7 PM. But honestly, I don't think this is a big deal, since if gaming or camera is a priority to you, then you should probably not be looking at this phone. Now let me explain. Let's start with the performance bit. The Agni 2, it runs on Android 13 with very few changes. And the changes Lava's made, they're actually more useful, even intuitive. For example, Lava's cut down animations. Like this is how screenshotting on another phone looks like. This is how screenshotting on the Agni 2 is. Lava's also included edge screen functionality, optimizations for always on, an option to toggle on a second WhatsApp client. Like I said, minor things here and there that are actually useful. In fact, what is more impressive here, to me at least, is what Lava's not included: bloat. There is absolutely no preloaded bloatware whatsoever on this phone. Now this is not something we see on mid-ranges these days. Especially when you give it some perspective, see it in comparison with say what we're getting on the Realme 11 Pro, I'd say Lava's done really well. Now the chip here, it is the Dimensity 7050. which is a rebadged 1080, which is a slight tweak on the 920, which itself is a slight tweak on the 900. Now, I'm not a fan of MediaTek's endless rebrands and tweaking, and I'm definitely not a fan of how Lava's pushing this.
Experience the power with India's first MediaTek Dimensity 7050 processor.
Because that makes it sound like they've got a brand new chip or something, right? But all that said, all the marketing BS aside, the chip on this, the Dimensity 7050, it does offer pretty good performance. There's ample RAM. Once again, ignore the virtual RAM crap, it's marketing BS. There is 256 gigs of UFS 2.2 storage, which is all the more important since there is no microSD support either. Now, as decent as the performance is, I won't recommend the Agni 2 for someone with gaming as a priority. Now, yes, it can run games, yeah, and it even has surprisingly robust cooling. The phone never ran hot, and the stability scores, as you can see, they turned out excellent. So if you are someone who just occasionally from time to time play a game on your phone, then the Agni 2 could work for you. But if gaming is like top priority to you, if that's something you do a lot, then there definitely are phones with more powerful chips in this price segment. Now, it's not just with gaming. There were other times where the chip did show its limitations, but those were few and far between. For example, one time I was watching a YouTube video, I switched to higher resolution, which was 1440p, and I kinda sped the video up to 2x playback speed, which is something I do a lot with YouTube videos. Beat it up, what speed are you watching this video at? Leave a comment down below. Anyway, at 1440p, 2x speed, I could notice the sluggishness. This also happened when I was trying to do some stuff with a video playing in picture-in-picture. But these, like I said, they were not the norm, just the exceptions. For the most part, the user experience was quite good. In other words, for 80% of the time that I spent with the Agni 2, the Dimensity 7050 inside was able to push 120Hz. Now, it is also worth noting that Lava is promising 2 years of Android version updates and 3 years of security patches. They're also promising hassle-free replacements for as long as the phone is under warranty. Like I've always said, brand promises are not worth much unless they are followed through on. But Lava making these promises looks to be a good sign. That and the fact that they've pushed out a fix for that auto brightness bug so quick, it leaves me hopeful of Lava actually sticking to their promises. Now, before we jump to optics, a quick shout out to video sponsor Anbernic. Would you believe this is not just an interesting looking keychain? This is an actual real functioning handheld game console. One that can run SNES, Sega Game Gear, Game Boy Advance, and hell, even Sony PlayStation 1. Sweet, right? Just look at this thing. It's damn cute. This is Anbernic's new RG Nano. What you're seeing here is a handheld with a 1.5-inch IPS LCD display. For size comparison, here it is right next to an Apple iPhone 14 Pro Max and a Galaxy S23 Ultra if you're an Android guy. Now picture this with your keys. It's perfect for that quick Mario session when you're stuck in a queue. I love how they've made this all metal. I'm sure it makes for a great gift. Anyways, if you want to know more, check out the link below the like button. And with that, let's talk optics. The camera array to the back, at first glance, it looks pretty impressive. Now, 2 of these sensors are useless. So let's just ignore them, pretend they aren't there. Let's start with the primary. This here is a 50 megapixel 1x1.55 inch sensor that's paired with an f1.9 lens. Under good light, it does well. The images came out detailed. Look at these rocks here. Even 2x shots were usable. The dynamic range wasn't bad. See how nicely the sky is captured here. Even the portraits came out well. I was actually quite satisfied with the performance here. Now under low light, you can see the hardware as well as the software struggle. In fact, there wasn't a lot of difference between the regular shots and the night mode shots. And whatever we ended up getting, those images, they turned out a little soft and at times even noisy. Now with video, you can shoot 4K 30, but there's no stabilization at this resolution. So though the footage itself is not bad, I found myself not really using it. Surprisingly, Lava does offer a 2K option, which I don't think I've seen on any other phone till date. At 2K, EIS kicks in and the footage was very good. It was stable, it was usable. So next up, let's talk about that ultra wide. This is an 8 megapixel sensor, which is pretty average, even at this price point. Images turned out soft, the dynamic range was quite lacking. Like here, you can see the difference. And in this case, just see the lack of detail. The benches have almost no detail in them whatsoever with the image shot on the ultra wide. It's also worth noting that you can't shoot video with this at all. For selfies, we get a 16 megapixel sensor with a f2 lens. The results were acceptable, the skin tones were fine, the details were okay as long as there was enough light, the dynamic range wasn't great, but the edge detection more often than not was on point. So as you can see, for optics it's not bad. If cameras aren't high on your list of priorities, then the Agni 2 could actually work for you. So that's basically my conclusion. For 22,000 rupees, I'd say Lava's done a pretty good job with the Agni 2. As long as you aren't looking for a device with a high priority on gaming or optics, it could be a good option. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.